Hey everybody, Alex Newman here with the New American. You've probably noticed, if you're a conservative or if you even run in conservative circles, that conservatives have a bad habit of constantly bickering with each other. Reagan came up with the 11th commandment: you never want to attack to your right, right? Don't attack fellow Republicans, don't attack fellow conservatives. But there are more than a few leaders and grassroots people who don't take that all that seriously. And in fact, we see this very frequently in Congress, where the RINOs are always coming down on the true conservatives. Liz Cheney is an example that comes to mind. Well, today we have with us somebody who's working on dealing with this problem. Her name is Caroline Wetherington. She is the co-founder of Defend Florida, and she's going to be hosting a unity summit coming up here soon to try to bring conservatives together, to quit the bickering, and to try to unify those people who love their country, who love God, who want to restore individual freedom, and who really want the Constitution to stand supreme. Caroline, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. So, Caroline, tell us, get into this problem for us. We've got all these conservatives bickering. We've got factions. We've got rhinos. We've got true conservatives. We've got paleocons. The Tea Party. What's the deal here, and how do we bring everybody together? Is there enough agreement that it's even possible to bring everybody together?
Well, I'll tell you, you are absolutely right, Alex. The conservative movement, and not just the conservative movement, we're actually focusing on anybody and everybody who feels that they have lost their constitutional rights, that they've lost their freedoms in this country. You don't have to be a Republican or a conservative to feel that way. But traditionally, on this more conservative side, we have had a failure to unify. So we've run around competing with each other, and that's kind of our traditional. We're independent-minded people, and we tend to want to do our own thing, and we think we're creating a baby that's better than everybody else's baby. So we don't want to work with anybody else. When on the left, everybody on the left is walking in lockstep. There, it doesn't matter if you're super progressive left or if you're kind of middle of the road left. Everybody marches to the same drummer. On our side, we're so busy infighting that we can't accomplish anything. And meanwhile, the left is like walking all over us. I mean, I honestly think that there are two-thirds of this country love their freedoms, love what the country stands for, love the Constitution. But those two-thirds have lost ground to the loud one-third, because the loud one-third has been together. At least they've been together on being on the left, right? So this summit is all about teaching people how to work together, not just people, Americans, but groups, the leaders of those groups. Those are the people who really need to understand that you have to set aside some of your own personal interest and conceit and do something for the greater good. And that something for the greater good is working together with other like-minded organizations and other organizations who are doing exactly the same thing you're doing. Maybe a little bit differently. Maybe they have just one part of their organization that's doing what you're doing. But if you could take those two parts of your organizations that are doing the same thing and combine them, the result would be so much bigger than the result you're going to get separately. So that's kind of the theme of the Unity Summit, along with learning more about your constitutional rights. I think that most Americans don't really understand the Constitution. I know I didn't. And it's really important to not only learn the US Constitution, but you have to learn your state constitution as well. And only by doing that can you hold your elected officials accountable, because their job is really based on the laws that are in the Constitution. So that's what we're talking about at the Unity Summit on Sunday, March 21st.
That's awesome, Caroline. Thank you. And some of the speakers who are going to be there will be well known to viewers of this program. You've got Frank de Varona from Cuba, lives in Miami. He's written for the New American before, great guy. We've got Matt Brainerd, who we just interviewed recently, Trump's 2016 Director of Strategy and Data. We've got Sheriff Mack, another regular guest here on this program, who is former sheriff who sued the big federal government and won all the way at the Supreme Court, making clear that sheriffs are not employees of the federal government. They're employees of the people of their own county. And their job is to uphold the Constitution, not obey the dictates of a president or a Congress that is out of control. Continuing on this theme of unity, also Sidney Powell will be there, guys. But continuing on this theme of unity, Caroline, Where are the lines? Because we've got, people like Liz Cheney, for example, and I appreciate your point on the left. You never hear the moderate or the conservative Democrats like Manchin talking really hardcore about, for example, AOC and Bernie Sanders and the Bolsheviks and the communists. We really don't see too much criticism there. And yet, on the conservative side, we've got people like Liz Cheney who voted to impeach the president of the United States, Trump, and I know you were the co-founder of Women for Trump. Hopefully, you'll tell us about that. We've got like the National Review, for example, did a whole special issue about Never Trump. So, what is how would you define the movement? Are there any lines, borders, or should everybody try to come together? What about rhinos? Is there a place for rhinos? And give us some examples of how that might work, Caroline.
Well, I'll give you an example here locally. And before I do that, I want to tell people how they can get involved in the Unity Summit. You can text the word action to 474747. And when you do that, you'll get a link that takes you directly to sign up for the free tickets for the Unity Summit. So that's text action to 474747. And I'll tell you, in the state of Florida, I run Defend Florida, which is our state-based organization that we're bringing together in the state of Florida. We also have defendourunion.org, and that's a place where all the states are organizing their defend movements. But in Defend Florida, we're organizing at the county level watchdog groups to go to their city council meetings, their school board meetings, to hold their elected officials accountable. Well, we have found out that there's another group in the state of, actually, there's several groups in the state of Florida. They're doing the same thing. Florida Citizens Alliance are organizing county level groups to do school board watchdogs. There's another organization that's based on parents and children that's doing the same thing. So we brought those three organizations together and combined our efforts. Excuse me. And then, so now we have watchdog groups for the school board that are comprised of all three of those groups' volunteers, so that we have a much greater impact by working together. That's just a small example of how groups can come together when they have overlapping purposes to have a greater impact.
That's awesome. Yeah. And actually, we were very familiar with some of those groups. In fact, I work closely with some of those groups. And so it's good to know. But so what kind of borders should be drawn, if any? For example, is there a place for Liz Cheney in this coalition? Is there a place for example, the people who tried to drum Marjorie Taylor Greene out of the party? Or should Marjorie Taylor Greene be on the outs? Is there any kind of boundaries that you see? You mentioned that you have a freedom pledge that you ask the speakers to take. Tell us a little bit about that freedom pledge and kind of show us where people might be coming from in this coalition.
So this coalition is really nonpartisan, and I'd say that kind of tongue in cheek, but it really is. So what we're bringing together is people who are freedom-loving Americans who care about their constitutional rights and their freedoms. You don't have to be a Republican to feel that way. You can be an independent, you can be a Democrat, you can be somebody who's never voted before. If you in your heart feel like you're losing your freedoms in this country, you're losing your ability to walk out of the house without a diaper on your face, you're losing the ability to go to your church, you're losing your ability to have your business open when the government decides that it's not, they decide it's not right, that you're non-essential. I mean, all those people are part of this movement. Now, where Liz Cheney and those people fall into this, they're not in this movement. They're outside this movement. If you are not for the people's rights and their freedoms, then you're not part of this movement, regardless of what letter you have after your name. So those people are part of the people who probably will be getting primaried and will be moved out of the elected official arena and replaced by people who are like us, freedom-loving Americans who want to preserve those rights. And so we're asking all of our speakers and all of our associates who are taking part in the Unity Summit to take a pledge to Almighty God and to their fellow Republicans that they will learn the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of their state, that they will join with other freedom-loving Americans to become a participating citizen, to contribute their God-given talents in order to uphold the cause of liberty. They are pledging to do nothing in selfish ambition or conceit. They're pledging to cooperate and collaborate with fellow Americans toward a unified nation, to combine redundant efforts for the greater impact for the cause of freedom, and to treat other Americans as they want to be treated, with dignity, with respect, with kindness, and with charity. That is the pledge we're asking Americans to take.
That sounds pretty good. Golden rule right there. Hard to argue with that. And so, give us some examples of what are things that you think would be effective. I know you have Defend Florida now, and I know you're working on setting up similar operations in other states so people can defend their state. So, what are some policies? What are some measures? What are some tactics that people in this coalition would or could use to try to advance the very noble and wonderful goals that you just laid out?
Great, great. Thank you for asking that question. So at Defend Florida, we have kind of a three-pronged approach. One is to work with our state legislature to design firewall legislation to protect us from federal government overreach using our Constitution and our 10th Amendment, sovereignty of the state. In addition to election integrity, to promote election integrity and preserve our vote and make sure our vote counts. Second leg of that is to teach the Constitution. So we partnered with Patriot Academy, the Leadership Institute, and some constitutional attorneys to create some original content teaching the Constitution of the U.S. and of the state of Florida. And we're providing that online through video content. And then the third leg is, like I said before, creating these watchdog groups at the county and the city level to keep an eye on what our elected officials are doing. And also, we've created candidate recruitment groups who would then recruit candidates to run against these RINOs, or people who are not voting according to our freedom loving issues, the constitutional issues. So we've done that in Florida. We are creating similar models in other states, and we have about 10 states on board right now. Some of them are called different names. We've got New Louisiana, which is on board with us, but they're not called Defend Louisiana, and that's okay. We don't care what you call it. We're not into, nation building. We just want this movement to happen. And so at the summit, these groups from these other states are going to have breakout sessions at the end of the summit, so that if you're a viewer at the summit and you live in the state of Louisiana, for example, and you want to find out more about this Defend Louisiana movement, you can go to the breakout room afterwards and talk directly to the people and interact with the people who are organizing that movement. We also have one in California, Texas, several other states. So they'll all have breakout rooms where you can interact with those people directly. We will also have breakout rooms for other organizations, including Moms for America. Matt Brainerd's group is invited to have a breakout session. All of our speakers, in fact, will have breakout sessions where you can interact directly with those speakers on their issues. So not only are we giving a seminar where we're teaching people what's important, we're giving them the tools and the people to go to right there and then after the summit to talk to, how do I get involved in this movement? What do I do now? What are the next steps? Well, we're trying to get Patriot Academy to also have a representative there to talk about their programs as well. So it's really going to be an interactive summit. I hope everybody joins us.
Yeah, that sounds phenomenal. And again, guys, just a reminder, some of the speakers will be Sidney Powell, Frank de Varona, Matt Brainerd, and Sheriff Richard Mack, kind of a hero in the liberty movement for having successfully stood up to the federal government, reestablished that precedent that our state and our local governments do not work for Washington, D.C. They work for the people of their states. They're accountable to the people of their states, not Congress and not the president. So this sounds like it's going to be phenomenal, Caroline. In the last minute or so that we have left, tell us where we can find more. What's the best place to find Defend Florida? Is at defendflorida.org. Remind us again how to get involved with this summit, and any final words of wisdom you may have for us.
Well, I just want to make sure that everybody knows the co-sponsor of this summit is CloutHub. And CloutHub is the new social networking platform for those people who don't want to be censored or kicked off of big tech. So clouthub.com is the place that you need to go for your social networking. They're co-sponsoring this event. Jeff Brain will be one of the speakers. He is the CEO of CloutHub, and it's really an amazing organization. They're helping us a lot organize our nationwide movement. They've set up Defend Our State groups for every one of the states. They've helped us with some of our, we're not a nonprofit. We actually are nothing, so we don't fundraise. We have no money. We're kind of funding this on our own. So they've helped us create some marketing and some other things. So they're please support CloutHub. You can find out more about the summit by texting the word action to 474747, or you can go to our website at defendflorida.org or defendourunion.org, and you can find out other states that are involved in the movement.
Wonderful. Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for all that you're doing on behalf of our republic. Let's keep in touch. We'd love to have you back on at some point in the not too distant future, and hopefully a lot of our viewers will see you there at the summit. So thanks again, Carolyn. God bless you. Take care, folks, and God bless you all.